Resident Evil. If you've ever played one of the games, there's no doubt you remember the first time you hit start and entered the survival horror.
Resident Evil.
Have you ever noticed that a lot of Capcom games do that?
Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry HD Collection.
Street Fighter Alpha 3. Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition. Street Fighter Cross Tekken.
The Misadventures of Ron Boss.
There are few gaming franchises as big as Resident Evil, also known as Biohazard in Japan.
As of now, the series has sold over 54 million games, making it Capcom's biggest. That's ahead of giants like Street Fighter, Mega Man and Devil May Cry. Not to mention the live action movies, which are arguably the most popular video game to movie transition of all time. Whether they stay faithful to this series or not is another story, but you get the idea.
So this is going to be a retrospective and a tribute to a series I'm a huge fan of. I'm going to be sticking to the main games just so you know. So without further introduction, let's get started with the first game.
In 1996, Capcom released the original Resident Evil for the PlayStation. A lot of people consider this to be the first survival horror game, and while it may have defined the genre, there are a number of titles that came before it, such as Alone in the Dark for the PC and Clock Tower for the Super Famicom. Another game I'd like to mention is D for the Sega Saturn, released in 1995. I used to play that game at a friend's house all the time as a kid, and I feel it's pretty underrated. A cool feature in that game is that you had 2 hours to complete it in real time, no pauses and no saves. Multiple endings gave it some replay factor too. In fact, Resident Evil was directly inspired by another Capcom game for the NES, or Famicom in Japan, released in 1989 called Sweet Home, after the Japanese horror movie of the same name. The original Resident Evil game borrowed many elements from Sweet Home, including the mansion setting, the puzzles, the item inventory management, the emphasis on survival and even the classic door loading screen. Speaking of the mansion from the first game, an interesting fact is that some of the pre-rendered backdrops and designs were inspired by the Stanley Hotel, the building which motivated Stephen King to write the best-selling novel The Shining.
Here's Johnny!
Anyway, back to Resi 1. The game takes place on the outskirts of Raccoon City in an abandoned mansion filled with dangerous mutated creatures, traps and puzzles to solve. A series of bizarre murders and signs of cannibalism have forced the Raccoon Police Department's Special Tactics and Rescue Service, or STARS for short, to investigate. The rest of your team are presumed missing or dead. You take control of STARS members Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, accompanied by Barry Burton, Rebecca Chambers and Team Captain Albert Wesker in an effort to discover the secrets of the mansion and get to the bottom of what the hell is going on here.
When you start up, you're greeted by these cheesy live action cutscenes.
Joseph!
No! Don't go!
I suppose it kind of adds to the B-movie horror feel of the game, but there's also some amazingly bad voice acting, and here are some of my favourite examples.
Captain Wesker, where's Chris?
Stop it! Don't open that door!
What? What is this?
What is it?
Blood. Hope this is not Chris's blood. What is it?
Watch out! It's a monster!
What is it? Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you. That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right.
Jill Sandwich? Come on, that's just bad. So bad it's become a joke within the Resident Evil fanbase.
As far as the gameplay goes, it just feels kind of awkward. Given that it's an early PlayStation title, it's okay, but it just hasn't been perfected yet. Your character is made up of 3D polygons, while the backgrounds are pre-rendered in 2D. You look like some kind of Lego character with those blocky features. Resident Evil Lego, I'm surprised they haven't made that game yet. Anyway, the set camera angles would become a staple in this series for years to come, which I really like as it helps set the atmosphere so much better than if it were a free camera. Left and right on the D-pad rotate your character, and up or down move you forward or back respectively. This can prove tricky if you're surrounded by enemies, as there's no other way to navigate, and sometimes you'll find yourself taking damage because of this. You explore the mansion finding weapons and ammo to arm yourself against the monsters and zombies inside. You find keys and solve puzzles to unlock new areas, kinda similar to a Zelda dungeon. You can find herbs and first aid sprays to cure yourself from any damage taken, as well as save your game at these typewriters with ink ribbons you find along the way. Now this is what I love about these games and what truly makes them survival horror experiences. You have limited saves. This forces you to think carefully about your next move and plan ahead, as well as ration your ammo and health items, which are scarce to begin with. I can kind of see why, seeing as most games nowadays are a hold your hand walkthrough of themselves, which is a massive shame really. I want to be able to explore and figure things out for myself, rather than having some waypoint telling me where to go and how to do it. In a game like this, you feel a sense of accomplishment when you solve a puzzle, or decipher a clue, rather than having information force-fed to you. As you uncover more of the mansion, finding hints and clues to your next destination along the way, more of the story is revealed, which keeps you interested not only in keeping yourself alive, but what might happen next.
But Barry, didn't you say you're going back to the dining room to do some research? Why on earth are you here?
I just had something I wanted to check.
And who could forget that cutscene where you meet the first zombie in the game? Now that's classic.
In 2002, Capcom released a remake of the first Resident Evil game for the GameCube, and holy crap, it is awesome. The graphics are in the same 3D on top of 2D style, but it looks so good and provides for a more refined atmosphere inside and out of the mansion. The gameplay is greatly improved too. You have a quick turn which was introduced later on in the series. It makes moving around so much easier, you feel more mobile and less tank-like. There are also a bunch of other stuff they changed. I won't go into every difference, but if you were going to play the first game, I would absolutely recommend this version, which is undoubtedly one of the best GameCube titles out there. Konami also did the same thing with Metal Gear Solid, another classic PS1 game, with Metal Gear Solid The Twin Snakes, released in 2004 for the GameCube, with improved graphics and gameplay.
But hey, that's just the first in a string of great games. I have a lot more to cover, so be sure to check back. Don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you later guys.
Thanks for checking out the video guys, I hope you liked it. There's more to come, so please subscribe to stay tuned, or check out some of my other videos. Cheers guys.